Hi, welcome to When Love Ends, Reclaim Your Inner Compass. I'm Joyce Ayers, heart-centered divorce coach. So when love ends, it disrupts your sense of direction. That one that you used to follow, that you knew where you were going, but now you don't. For many women, divorce feels like waking up one day and realizing that their GPS is suddenly scrambled. It's gone offline. That familiar life that you've lived that once was predictable, you could wake up and know exactly what you're going to do. It's no longer stable. It no longer exists. And your brain processes loss much like a physical pain in your body. So if this is something you're experiencing, put it in the comments. So, this loss, it's like it's showing up as pain, all this mysterious things that are happening in your body. You don't understand why. So when attachment bonds break, the emotional center of the brain becomes hyperactive. It's like, oh, wait, what's going on? What do I have to be aware of? And the best and the part responsible for your clear thinking goes offline. That's that GPS. So things shut down, right? You have to reboot. So trust in yourself and your capability starts to diminish. And your future really feels uncertain. Like, where's it going? What's going to happen? Again, it's not familiar. It's not something that's known. This is your nervous system's natural survival strategy. So do you have this going on, like where you just feel like you're surviving but it's not working for you? And when you understand what's happening inside, you can begin to gently recalibrate your inner compass because the part of you wants to be stable, wants to know what's going on. So you just gently start to recalibrate that inner compass so you can move forward with clarity. Have the clarity and know where you're going, you're confident in decisions you're making, and that self-authority again. It's like, yes, this is what I'm going to do, and you hold by it. So what shifts when you recalibrate your inner compass? Well, that loss of identity, like who am I now that I'm not married and all these roles, turns into really knowing yourself, where you're going, who you're being. That emotional overwhelm, like, all those emotions running all over the place. You now have emotional intelligence. Oh, like your emotions are like a radar. It's helping you navigate. And that self-doubt, it's like, oh, maybe I could do this. Maybe I shouldn't do that. All of that, it turns into confident clarity, certainty, and feeling stuck. Well, it's like, oh, where am I going to go? It becomes now that you're confident taking what we call aligned action, which I'll cover later on. So who am I? I'm Joyce Ayers, heart-centered divorce coach, and I'm really glad you're here or watching this replay. So about 6 years ago, I went through my own divorce and that broken heart that I couldn't ignore. It was all right there. I wasn't prepared for the overwhelming emotions that I was familiar with stuffing, that I was suddenly feeling. And this disoriented feeling that came, just like, okay, I knew what life was. I knew how to navigate him, her, all the things. And now I felt very disoriented. So my inner compass felt hijacked by these really strong wave of emotions, and I didn't know how to manage them because I'd been stuffing them. They were coming up fast, and I didn't know how to trust myself, my future, right? So I was used to holding everything together for everyone else, but not after life was falling apart because that foundation wasn't there anymore, the false foundation, right? And it forced me to take a deeper look at the choices that I'd been making. And as time seemed to stand still, I learned to turn my attention inward rather than focusing on it outward because that felt safer. I learned that I could start turning my attention inward very gently, again, just, because it's familiar, it's not familiar. Having so honest conversations with myself, which allowed my inner compass to recalibrate itself and I could start setting a new course. So I've been supporting women, for about 12 months through these transitions, helping them form this new relationship with themselves after, life-altering events, the breakup, whatever it is that was very catastrophic in a person's life. So I'm a heart-centered divorce coach trained in the Conscious Uncoupling method, which you might be familiar with, by Catherine Woodward Thomas. I'm also trained in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnosis, and somatic embodiment work. It's kind of like building self-awareness of how you're feeling, what you're sensing. And while all these trainings gave me lots of tools and skills to coach with other people and, on your path, the truth is I needed to really walk this path myself, where I could find the courage that I had within myself and the strength that I actually had. I needed, I went through the divorce to be able to really understand what's happening inside. And it's really fascinating. I'm always really intrigued by the science of all this. So my divorce helped me discover and reclaim the parts of myself that I had silenced. Like, no, we can't say that. You shouldn't do that, right? All the would haves and should haves. um, all the feelings that I overrode, or that, don't say that, can't do that. And this is like self-abandonment. So I really learned to reclaim all those parts of myself and let the parts and these parts act as my compass. So there's three transitions that take place after divorce that help you reclaim your inner compass. One is the release of emotional grief. There's lots of emotions going on. And the second one is rewriting your story. We all have a story about our past and what he did and what we didn't do, whether we're the victim, whether they're the villain, all the things. And the third one is align with your future self. So these aren't just some more feel good ideas to know. And, it's like just file it away. Like you read a book and you go through it and you're like, oh, okay, I'm good now, right? No, they're neuropsychological resets that you'll be needing to practice. And so I'm going to take you through those now. So let's look at transition number one, releasing emotional grief. This is going from that emotional suppression that you may have been doing to emotional literacy, where we can become very literate in our own emotions. So the first transition in divorce is learning how to listen to your emotions instead of overriding them. So, have you been overriding every emotion, like the one that pops up that says, I'm sad? No, don't have time to be sad. No, don't be sad. I need to get this done, right? So we're learning to listen to the emotions. So maybe that's been you. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I will. Maybe I could feel safe. This is where many women get stuck because our emotions can feel overwhelming. If you've been suppressing them or if you haven't acknowledged them, they might erupt at inconvenient times and feel unsafe. And for years, you may have learned to push through, stay strong, just to keep the peace. So yet your emotions, they're not your enemy, right? Because they're part of you, they're part of who you are. They're part of your compass. They help you navigate things. So when you learn to name what you're feeling, the anger, grief, or sadness, you're allowing your nervous system to discharge them. So by pushing them down, they stay around. And by releasing them, by allowing them to be expressed, you can discharge them. This is how the inner compass begins to come back online. So when you go through a divorce, emotions, they don't just fade, they'll go underground. They go underground and they hide and they will erupt. So, when grief gets stuck, or, any of those emotions get stuck in the nervous system, it's because they haven't had a way of processing them in a safe way. And that's what we're going to talk about, is just naming the emotions becomes a safe way for healing, instead of shutting down the emotions. So this comes from allowing what we call a complete emotional discharge. It's like your emotions have a wave. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when you disrupt that wave, it can't discharge, can't release. It will be incomplete. So we're focusing on completing this emotional wave so your system can reset and recalibrate. That's that, your eternal compass. Healing begins by doing a simple yet it's a neurologically powerful exercise called naming the emotion. Go figure. This is a method by Catherine Woodward Thomas in her Conscious Uncoupling work. And I'm also a trained coach, as I mentioned. So let's start into this first exercise. So just kind of set back for a bit. And that phrase you've been saying, instead of I'm fine, and there's a part of you that knows that it's not fine, ask yourself, what is it are you actually feeling? So just take this moment for yourself. What are you actually feeling? If you need to go back to a memory to, it's like to recall, just kind of touch on it. If it's very strong, just touch on that feeling. What is it? Name the emotion. Give it a name. And also that right away, that starts to take away the intensity of it. And then say, where is it in your body? Where do you feel this emotion in your body? So maybe it's in a hip, a shoulder, your throat, your stomach. Where do you feel it in your body? You can even go deeper and, what is that feeling? Just where it is in your body. And then without pushing away, what is this emotion trying to protect you from or communicate to you? What message does it have? What purpose does it serve? So you can always come back to this later on if you want to go deeper. Just kind of giving you a little taster of this. So write down anything that came up for you, the emotion and the message. This is your compass for healing and moving forward. So let's consider why naming the emotion matters neurologically. So when you name an emotion, activity in your brain shifts. Activity in the brain shifts from the amygdala, which is the alarm center, like alarm bells going off, to the prefrontal cortex, where meaning, regulation, and choice are held. So the emotional charge softens when you name it. It's like you become disassociated. You regain access to clarity and, oh, what is this? What is this here? What message is here? Wait, how is it? Where is it pointing me towards? And you create space between the feeling and the reaction. So again, you have that separation. So your emotions are messages from your inner compass. And when you listen to them, instead of overriding them, which, this may be an old survival pattern of yours, it was of mine, you begin to rebuild trust within yourself. So like a emotion would come up and I'm like, nope, don't have time for it. Got to get on with things, right? I don't want to go there. As you start to trust yourself once again, something important becomes possible. You're no longer just reacting to the past. You're preparing to rewrite the story of the past, your version, your perception of the past. And as you begin to name your emotion, their intensity softens, takes the charge off them. A little space opens between what you feel and who you're being. You disconnect the two of them. And in that space, you notice that if I'm not my emotions or the story of the relationship, then who am I, right? Who am I without this story? Ooh, yeah, you get to rewrite your story. This is where transition number 2 begins, the shift from living inside your story to observing it. And from here, your past no longer defines you. I'm a divorced person. I fail. It's like the past no longer defines you. It becomes something that gives you clarity and choice. Yes, it didn't work out. And this is what I've learned, right? You can rewrite the story. So transition number 2, rewriting your story. This second transition is moving from living the story. It's already happened. It's in the past, but we continue to live the story of the relationship. So we transition from that to becoming the observer of the story. Ooh, this is taught in The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. This is a book that's been around a very long time. So when you notice your thoughts, rather than merge with them, like really associating with them, they lose their emotional charge. You're no longer reliving the past. You're witnessing the past. It's like, what thoughts did I have about the past, about myself, about what happened and how it happened, right? You're witnessing it, almost like watching a movie. And this witnessing creates space, that space again. Space is where healing and your identity restoration begin. So, who here has been still living in the past, even though it's already happened, but we're clinging to it, we hold on to it. It's serving some kind of purpose to hold on to it, right? Many women feel trapped by the story about what happened, because it's like it's like it's our identity, and what meaning did we make of it? So, what meaning did you give your story about you, about him, about your interactions, of what you could or couldn't do, right? Um, what does it say about you as a person, about who you can become or who you can't become? So, freedom begins the moment you realize you are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. So when you shift into being the observer, something really powerful happens. The old story loses its emotional grip, because that's what it is. There's the memory of what happened, but it's the emotional grip that holds you and binds you to it. The old stories stop hijacking your thoughts. The nervous system no longer reacts as if the past is still happening. Yeah, because as much as you replay it over and over, it's like it's still happening. It's like the brain holds stories like a playlist looping. You just put it on loop and it just keeps replaying the same songs. And so observation interrupts that loop. So you pick a new playlist, right? Let's do another exercise. So this time we're going to pause for 20 seconds while you observe your thoughts. This is this like eavesdropping in on what the mind is saying. Maybe you haven't, maybe you've done this before, maybe you haven't. It's actually a fun exercise because you're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on in there, right? So take a moment to pause for 20 seconds and I'll just estimate what that is. And just silently, what is going on in there in your thoughts? All right, so write down your thoughts that you noticed. What was there? What kind of looping might be happening? And then come back to them later and challenge their truth. Are they really true? Yes, of course. Well, okay, then challenge that you're dead set on this being the truth. So why this step is essential to pause for this 20 seconds, because unobserved thoughts easily replay the perception you have of your past. Because we all have a perception of how it happened, as you already know. Observed thoughts loosen their charge, and you become the author of your new story. So instead of somebody authoring your life for you, you become the author and you get to choose. So instead of repeating the relationship pattern, because it's embodied in you, you allow the story to complete. You complete the story, close that chapter, and not repeat it. And as your identity to the old story loosens, it loosens that grip. A new sense of identity that you are becoming happens, and a new compass emerges that helps you to navigate the future. This is like that internal compass that it's been offline. So when you're no longer anchored to the past, you create space to imagine who you're becoming. And from that space, a new direction can form. And this is where transition number 3 begins. Learning to trust yourself again and let your inner compass guide what's next. So transition number 3, align with your future self. Yes, there is a future out there and you get to align with this new future self. So this third transition is learning to trust yourself again before certainty returns. So you don't have to have certainty in order to move on and trust yourself. You can just move forward knowing that you can trust. So after loss, the brain becomes cautious. It scans for safety. It wants direction before it's willing to move forward. It wants to be able to anticipate. Through an NLP method called future pacing, so NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, you compassionately introduce your nervous system to a new version of yourself because it doesn't feel safe, right? So when you have this new version of yourself, it can feel grounded, make clear, calm decisions, and trust your inner knowing. Through repeating and repetition and imagery of this future self, your nervous system learns, hey, it's safe to trust myself again. All right, so let's do another exercise. Touch your thumb and your middle finger together. This is called an anchor. And when you're ready, close your eyes. Imagine yourself 3 months from now. You can even just have a soft gaze down. So just 3 months out for now, imagine yourself making decisions with calmness. You have direction, certainty. Yes, this is where I'm going. This is, you may not have all the answers, but you're certain about, yes, this is the next step. Feeling grounded and relaxed in your body, trusting your inner compass. Relaxed in your body, walking with confidence, speaking clearly, and holding boundaries easily. Yeah, noticing with those out. Notice how it feels to trust your inner compass. See what you see. Hear all that you hear, even your voice, and feel what you feel. Just feel it in your body, this confidence, calm, relaxed. And then now release your thumb. So when you practice this exercise, you become aligned with this new story, the character you're playing, this new character, and you trust your inner compass to guide you along. This is how your inner compass resets. It's not overnight, but with consistent practice that builds confidence in navigating the terrain ahead. Maybe you've done this exercise before because you're always anchoring yourself to some version of your story. So when you mentally rehearse this aligned version of yourself, the brain rewires new pathways associated with that confidence, your self-agency and trust. And why this step matters is you don't regain confidence by waiting for certainty to come. It's like, well, when I feel certain, then I'll be confident. No, you build certain confidence and you regain it by practicing trusting yourself in advance. So this future pacing doesn't force a new future. It familiarizes your nervous system with a new reality, a new way of being. And this is how your inner compass resets gradually, consistently, until you remember inside neurologically wiring that who you are has always existed beyond the relationship. I got one more practice for you. And this is one that you do before all these other practices. This is called a centering practice. Just takes, well, as you practice it more, it just takes a few seconds, but we'll just kind of speed it up and you can go through this replay slowly later for yourself. So sit comfortably with your feet flat on the floor and lengthen your spine. So sit down, feet uncross your ankles, sit up nice and tall, feeling supported. Inhale in your belly. And that's your calming center, feeling safe and settled. Imagine your energy running up your spine, nice and long. Feel yourself supported again. and become aware of your heart space. Let it expand, let it grow, let it fill with light and love. And then bring to mind a memory or an image of something that brings a smile to your face. Something that makes you smile from the inside out. So when you become centered, decisions are made more easily from alignment, not out of a sense of urgency, and the boundaries are created from following your compass, not from a sense of defensiveness. And this is the embodied foundation of recalibrating your inner compass. So thank you for being with me today and our time together. And I want to remind you of this, that feeling lost after divorce doesn't mean you've failed. It means something inside you is reorganizing. And each time you name what you feel, when you observe the stories of your mind that it's telling you, and you choose to trust yourself again, you strengthen your inner compass. And as this journey begins inside, you don't have to walk it alone. Maybe you've already been there quite alone. You don't have to do this alone. If you're ready for deeper support that's guided, that's grounded, compassionate, because this is a very transitional time, I invite you to join me in a Better Way to Divorce Masterclass. It'll be on January the 20th. I'll put the link in the comments. It's a space where we slow this process down, work with the nervous system, and help you rebuild clarity, confidence, and self-trust step by step. You find the link in the comments for this masterclass, and listen to yourself as you decide, because even that is a part of reclaiming your purpose. So decide to show up and choose to join the masterclass to go deeper into this work. Thank you for being here, for your openness, for sharing. I'll be watching the comments for as you watch the replays, that whatever came up for you, reach out to me for support. And I really honor you for being here, showing up for yourself. I'm Joyce Ayers, Heart Center Divorce Coach. Thank you for being with me, and be well.